Greetings, Warlords. Welcome back to Warhammer 40,000 Conquest for Cards game, played on original.net. There's the first video I'm making since the final Apoca expansion has been released. So my opponent here, Echo, is playing the new Tyranids one, subject to W-808. So we'll go over that in a moment. What was there? There was only 2 Warlords in the expansion and a new set of planets, not using Kariak myself. That's the other new ward for Dark Eldar, because Kariak's pretty weak and very boring. And also not using the planets, because they're also quite boring and just not interesting. Well, not really. It's not even that they're not interesting, just more as very... It's very... You just sort of generate... I mean, you get to the start of the combat phase, and then each player has to resolve 5 reactions. That's just a bit too silly for me. But oh well, it's fine. Can't win them all, can't like everything. So yes, just this time we've only got a new Subject W-808 Warlord for this game. Probably won't be making videos on the other ones as I'm just not interested at all. I've played enough of them when I was playtesting them for Apoca. Right, so let's go over who we are this game. So I am playing Castellan Crowe of the Space Marines. So Castellan Crowe, he has this ability: each unit you control is considered to have faith. Okay, I don't have any units for where this would matter right now, but generally if you think of a unit like Tenacious Novice Squad, which has an ability that says while this unit has faith, it gets +1 attack and +1 health. That means, I'm looking at the wrong guy, that means that the unit has +1 attack and +1 health all the time, even if he does not actually have any physical faith tokens on him. So it matters for those kinds of units. Everything else doesn't matter for. I think there's a few niche cards maybe where if you have faith and you get a bonus. But I can't remember any off the top of my head, so for now we'll just think of these units like Tenacious Novice Squad, where you get extra stats if you have faith. And mostly this ability just makes you include a bunch of bad Space Marines units into your deck in order to get usage out of the ability. A bit like how here, for example, you can see that of the 4 units I have, none of them actually interact with this at all. Oops. But it's fine. Giving these weaker units that just don't see much use a place to be. It would be better if I took them out for actually good units, but it's fine. It's interesting to see if they'll do something. And then we have this reaction: after an army unit damages an enemy army unit by an attack, pay X faith to deal X damage to that enemy unit. So what does this mean? This means that let's say that I have this Zealous Cantus and attacks some army unit. If he shields it, or if he uses faith or doesn't shield it, anything like that, as long as at least 1 damage gets through, then I'll be able to spend any number of faith to do more damage. Now this is a little strange because we're paying X faith to do X damage. Now normally you can use shield with faith in order to pay X faith to prevent X damage. So this isn't, you're not strictly getting a benefit out of this, you're just trading one type of resource for another type, namely you're trading potential health into damage to the enemy. That, and it can be pretty difficult to actually find a case where you want to use this ability, because if you're paying something like, if you're paying just 1 or 2 faith, your opponent can still shield that extra damage. So then you're swapping out 2 faith for a shield card, which is actually quite good. But yeah, of course, then you've also lost the faith, so you're not going to have that faith possibly shielding one of your units, so then you might have to use a shield card. So it's generally a pretty neutral ability. But sometimes you have cases where you have just a ton of faith, and this is very useful in those cases. Aside from that, if you then pay something like 3 faith to deal 3 damage, then yeah, your opponent can't shield it. But then it's probably going to be overkill by at least 2 faith, at least 2 damage. So then you're paying 3 damage to kill a unit, which, you know, it's not a terrible deal, but it's pretty hard to get to 3 faith. It's not like you're playing Astra Militarum where you have Our Last Stand and well, just all the warlords who have extra faith-giving abilities. As you can see on Castellan Crowe here, none of this ability actually generates you faith, so you're going to have to get that faith from your cards, which can be pretty difficult. We'll talk about them in a moment when I get to my hand here. Alright, so that's Castellan Crowe out of the way. Let's have a look at W-808. Subject :W-808. Pretty long name, but I'm not the naming person. And also, this one's actually named after Warder 808 in the Conquest Discord group. I'm going to call him Bob though, because like it's 808, it's like Bob. So, Bob here, what does he do? He says, after the deploy phase begins, pay 1 resource to put into play a synapse unit from the card collection at a non-first planet. Remove that card from the game at the end of the round, limit 1 per synapse. So we can't just place a stalking lictor every round. So if you're familiar with the pocket cards, you might be looking at this and going, hang on, didn't they already print a card like this? And yes, you're thinking of Reinforced Synaptic Network. Reinforced Synaptic Network basically does exactly the same thing, except that A, the synapse is then placed at a planet after your warlord commits to a planet, which makes the timing on it extremely favourable. B, the synapse can go to the first planet, so it can actually fight as well as not just be a command person. And C, was it B or C? Whatever. And number 3, lastly, is that that card is an action instead of a reaction, so you also get to deploy store it. Now, the reaction here, just because it's a reaction, doesn't actually make it that much worse, because it being a reaction means that you can do things like put an Nandachi Strain Broodlord into play at Eluith, or any planet, and then play a High Fleet Leviathan turn 1 in order to infest a planet, then infest another planet by triggering Nandachi and draw a card. So this isn't a strictly worse, at least round 1, but it is generally worse. It's allowing you to save a card, but that's not like a giant gain. Aside from that, what else is there? I mean, you've also got contaminated convoys stuff, but that's generally not worth going over. It's pretty niche, but it actually makes a difference. Aside from that, you've got a bunch of other cards. We'll see them throughout the game, so I'll discuss them when we get to them. And I think that's it. So the general idea of this guy is pretty simple. You put the synapse units into play, they contribute temporary commands and bonuses, and then they go away again. So you're constantly having to tax yourself for a resource in order to do this. So you're paying 1 resource for a temporary command icon, which generally isn't that good. But it's probably okay because at least the card is not coming from your hand, unlike with Reinforced Synaptic Network. So you're technically gaining a card if you think about it that way, but again, because the Reinforced Synaptic Network would be committing the unit to a planet after your warlord commits, which is the most favourable timing possible in terms of command winning. You're probably losing out on more cards and resources than you're actually gaining from the synapse unit that you're putting out, unless you get to use its ability for something. And as we could discuss the possible synapse units, actually, yes, we're going to discuss the possible synapse units because there's a lot of them. So I have brought up here the 10 different synapses which are available. So let's go through them one by one. Savage Royal Prime, it lets you have a battle at a planet. I mean, sometimes that's good, but the problem, of course, is that your opponent already knows where the battle is going to take place because you have to put the synapse unit into play at the beginning of the round, which means that they can just not send their command units there. Or potentially worse, maybe they have an Actress Infantry platoon in their hand or something, so now they can just play it there. And they're threatening to actually win the battle at that planet. Granted, the Savage Royal Prime is probably going to get some attacks off anyway, so it's not like you're getting nothing out of it. You're going to do some damage, but it's probably there's a good chance of this backfiring on you. Blazing Zoanthrope, so a generic command unit. It also does damage. This is one of the best ones you can take. Not much to say about it. Gravitervigon. The unit is not committed to a planet, so his ability doesn't work. Never pick this one. Stalking Lictor. It's got 2 command icons. Benefit Polluter. Again, commit ability. Commit abilities don't work. Don't pick it. Keening Maleceptor. This one's actually pretty good as well, although it does require infestation. So he allows you to remove an infestation token from a planet to trigger a battle ability. So that could be really good. You could get to use Tavis maybe, or you could get to use Evan if you're running an elite heavy deck. But it's also just a generic economy advantage, because if Ossus is in the game, that's a 2-resource strain. You've paid a swing. You've paid 1 resource for the Keening Maleceptor, and then it's definitely going to be able to use its ability in order to steal a resource from your opponent, and that means that they've gone down one resource, or you've basically lost nothing. And you've also got the extra command icon there. Well, granted, you're removing the infestation token, but that's not really a penalty. A Darkly Strain would look, or rather, I should say, this is not really a penalty in a pocket format because there's so much extra infesting stuff that it's quite difficult to not have all the planets be infested by like round 3 or something. Darkly Strain Broodlord is basically the best one. After you infest a planet, draw a card, infest and chase a planet, then rolls the phase. So you use that with a card which infests a planet turn 1 in order to draw an extra card. So then the 1 resource that you paid with W-808 is transferred into an extra card. So that's like a positive resources gain, or resources in the terms of just general card and resource advantage. Aberrant Alpha, you probably want him at some point, probably for the last battle, but it's important to remember that since you have a limit, you can only pick each synapse once, you need to be careful about when you actually send out the Aberrant Alpha, because you won't be getting it back if you if you choose the wrong time to send it out. That being said, you can run Reinforced Synaptic Network in order to bypass this restriction. It's probably not worth it. I wouldn't personally do that, but you could. Praetorian Shadow is just a generically good unit. It buffs your Warlord, and it buffs your Warlord more. And it's still, command icon. Also a very good one to just send out, maybe the first planet's important, so you send it to the second planet and your Warlord to the first planet. Now it's much easier to win the battle at first planet. And Vanguarding Horror, which we are theory crafting that Vanguarding Horror is actually quite good. Because what is it? You only really need to trigger the ability over Deep Strike Reduction once, or only have it enter play once. And since the Deep Strike value reduction is only affecting units at adjacent planets, it doesn't matter that it can't go to the first planet. It also got this combat action, but this is very interesting to theory craft around. So yeah, I have a lot to say on it, but I can't sum it up succinctly, so I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Right, back to this. And for my opponents, I'm also running Graviturbagon with funny termguns. It just puts termguns to play when you commit. Right, that's all then. So, let's have a look at the planets. Actually, my opponent also has the initiative, if you were wondering. So let's have a look at the planets. So we have Atrox, Balus, Planum, Elirith, and Iridium. So 4 blue planets. So the game could end as early as planet 4. So it's a pretty average length game. It can't be a particularly short one. That's generally good for Tyranids because they have a lot of they have an incredible amount of scaling potential. And it's a little worse for me, but it's not too bad. Castellan Crowe is quite. Castellan Crowe has some pretty good command units compared to the other Space Marines warlords. Even though he does have to trade out some of the raw powerful, or so even though he does trade out some of the more powerful units for more command units. So now we've looked at those, what are we going to do here? So interestingly to note here is that this is a very card heavy planet layout. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 7 card winnings available from the command struggles and only 2 resources. So while my hand is quite good here, I have an Inspirational Feather, Sacred Rose Emulator, Rogue Trader, Brotherhood Justicar, and Primal Howl, as well as 2 Zealous Cantuses. This is a pretty expensive hand. I'll be able to play 3 units, the Rogue Trader, Brotherhood Justicar, and Sacred Rose. And it's going to be difficult for me to generate enough resources in order to actually play all of these. So I think, and I know that I have plenty of low cost units in my deck, as you can see from this Rogue Trader here. So I think I'm actually more willing to take a mulligan here and see if I can get some cheaper cards just to try to contest the command struggles a little more and try to not have my hand clogged up with too many expensive units that I can't play. And my opponent is initiative, so he needs to take the he needs to take a combat with deploy. No, he needs to take a mulligan first. Let's see if he does. He declines. He likes what he's got. So he gets to use W-808. And he puts the Darchi into play at Bars. So we're going to see him play High Fleet Leviathan almost certainly, and then he'll draw a card and invest 2 planets. We should talk about my mulligan hand. So it's a much cheaper hand, that is what I was hoping for, although there are some issues. We only have 2 resources worth of units now, so that's a little scary. It's going to be very difficult to actually win. It's going to be very difficult to actually win the battle at Atrox Prime, when normally Space Marines are quite good at that. It's since there's so much card draw, I have a pretty good chance of drawing. What is it? Of drawing a drop pod assault from the command struggle, although that does require me to actually have command units, which I don't really. So probably we're going to be sending the Rogue Trader over to Iridio and Tenacious Nova Squad to Atrox Prime to at least threaten to win the first planet. But it's not pleasant. There isn't too much here. We've got the Revered Heavy Flame with +2 attack, so this Tenacious Nova Squad is going to be a 4 attack, 2 health unit, since it has Castellan Crowe's ability to have faith. The rest of it is, yeah, we don't have too many options here. So for scary events wise, we have Psychic Ward, but the problem is that the main card that we'd want to prevent with Psychic Ward is Overrun, the Tyrannid's Route card. But Overrun is an overpowered card that, when it is cancelled, also draws your opponent Overrun draws you 2 cards if it gets cancelled. So even if I overrun him, it'll be a net negative for me. So since my opponent will lose 1 card, I'll lose 1 card. He'll lose 2 resources and then draw 2 cards for a net gain of about 1 value. The other cards that I could cancel are Shadow in the Warp, which is we'll see later on. But Shadow in the Warp is just a 0-cost card, it's not particularly good. And Contaminated Convoys, although I don't know how willing I am to use Psychic Ward on Contaminated Convoys when Contaminated Convoy is probably only going to get him maybe a couple termagants. I'm not sure if, I think he's also just pretty broke at the moment since there's so few resources on the board. But it will depend on what cards he plays. So yeah, we don't really have a good Psychic Ward target. Maybe he'll play something later on though that makes us go, ooh, that's something I should cancel. At the very least, there's generally no reason not to use Psychic Ward since it doesn't cost me anything. It's not doing anything else in my hand aside from pretending to be a 1 shield card. We also have Blade of Antwer, I should mention this. So attached to Grey Knights unit. Castellan Crowe's Grey Knights. Let me increase this. Gives +1 health, and after attached on commits to a planet, place faith on a unit controlled each state and planet. So if I had a Tenacious Nova Squad Atrox Prime, and I sent my ward to Barlas, I get to put a faith on that. So it's not much, but we don't really have any other way in our hand to generate faith aside from sacrificing a Holy Chapel, but I don't think we really want to sacrifice a Holy Chapel right now. But it's very early. We'll only get a 1/4 of the way to winning if we take Atrox. And I say a 1/4 because we still have to survive Barlas. Yeah, that's kind of it for now. Revered Heavy Flamer does place Faith, but it places Faith when the opponent uses a shield card, so we can't really control when we get the Faith. I think that's it everyone's talked about. So now it's opponent's turn to do things. Let's see what he does. High Fleet Leviathan, as you'd expect. So what are we going to do here? We're probably going to play this Rogue Trader to Iridio. And Tenacious Nova Squad to Atrox. That's probably it. This Holy Chapel is in a lot of danger of being hit by clogged with corpses, but we can't really do anything about that. I think we just have to hope that he doesn't have it. Because right now, the only thing that Holy Chapel could place faith on is Tenacious Novice Squad, so most of us are going to get wasted. So let's see what I do. Play the Holy Chapel. He plays a Digestion Pool, so that's going to be really good for him, as he's not going to have to worry so much about the low resources of these planets. He'll be able to use that to discount a Tyrannid's unit by 2 every round. I haven't drawn my support destruction yet, but I am running some, I think. Am I run? No, I don't think this one is. This one's running the generically good Space Marines events, and also more inspirational fervors, things like that, for more mobility. So, but he's just going. Oh, this isn't an upgrade anyway, so Imperial Fist Devastators wouldn't work against it. What am I doing? I'm playing Rogue Trader to Iridio. Makes sense. I suspect he's going to win all of the command struggles, so if he's going to try to contest me with either a Synapse or just a command unit, I'd rather it was contested. With a 2 command unit, I mean. Then I'd rather he wins the Iridio command struggle rather than one of the higher rewarding planets. Yeah, he plays a Venom Throat. So it's fine. I planned this. Well, not planned for it, but I've played around it to the best of my ability. So I don't have many options now. I think I'm just playing Tenacious Novice Squad to Aatrox Prime and the Revered Heavy Flamer. Yep. Okay, he's playing an Emergent Cultist, which is an extremely powerful unit. It costs 2, has 1 command, 3 attack, 3 health. Well, 2 health, but whilst infested planets gets +1 health. You might notice those are the same stats as an Anxious Infantry platoon, except that it doesn't have a negative ability, and in fact it has a positive ability of after you deploy this unit, exhaust the target enemy support. So he's going to exhaust my Holy Chapel, so I won't be able to use it this round even if I wanted to. Oh man. I'm playing my Blade of Antwer just because I feel like I'm going to need it at this point. I mean, I know it's generally a good idea to hold on to a free shield card, but I don't really have any faith generation, so if he does send out a unit to Aatrox Prime, I'm probably going to need an extra faith in order to either use Castellan Crowe to do more damage or just to block whatever attack is going to come my way. And it's probably worth noting. I should mention that Revered Heavy Flamer works quite well with Castellan Crowe because if we pay 1 faith to do 1 damage and then our opponent shields it, Revered Heavy Flamer then triggers the ability not to place a faith on an army unit, in which case. So effectively, like we dealt a free damage or knocked a free card out of our opponent's hand for no cost, as the faith is simply back. Okay, he's played the Protective Horrors. So Protective Horrors multi-planet with a unique unit, so unit gets sweep. And after a synapse unit to this planet is assigned damage, we assign all that damage to this unit instead. So if he sent his Graviturbagon to Aatrox Prime, he'd be able to protect it, although I don't think I would really be attacking the Protective Horrors anyway. Aside from that, the unit has sweep 1 and the unit has sweep 1 if it's a unique unit. Currently there isn't, so either I need to send my Walder or he needs to send his Walder. And since there's only one of my units at the planet, sweep 1 doesn't really do anything here. So currently it looks like I'm going to win the battle here if we just leave it like this. But he's probably going to play another unit or something. Maybe he does have overrun and he's going to use Aatrox or not win Aatrox by simply routing my unit, or at least planning to. In which case I can Psychic Ward, but that will cause him to draw more cards, and causing him to draw more cards is really bad here because Digestion Pool allows him to actually play those cards. So it's going to be rough. Granted, actually, there's a small issue for him here, which is that I know that he has only 1 resource. Sorry, he's only going to win 1 resource from Planum, so it doesn't look like he's going to be able to play Overrun because it costs 2, unless he wins Aatrox Prime. So he'd have to send his Warlord to Aatrox Prime, and then hope that my Warlord doesn't go to Planum, unless he sends his Graviturgon to Aatrox Prime, but I think that's unlikely. Graviturgon really wants to try to get these out. Or maybe actually he's just going to be dumping a bunch of shield cards into the Protective Horrors. If he did, I'd be surprised, because you'd think he'd used Emergent Cultist for that, but it's a possibility. Granted, he doesn't know right now that I don't have any units in my hand. I haven't given any indication of that. So it is hard. Also, this Toxic Venom Loop is quite annoying here because with a Darchi it's going to infest a planet and then get to draw a card, since a Darchi can draw you a card even if you do not get to infest an adjacent planet. Yep, I don't think there's anything else to talk about here. Just move on. Deploy the Revered Heavy Flamer just to make it a bit easier to win against the Protective Horrors. Because I really don't think... I mean, if he does play an overrun on me, I mean, I've got Psychic Quartz, doesn't really matter, so I don't really even need to win the Plan Command Struggle. I'm probably just going to send my ward to Barless and also get cards, because I'm just currently starving for cards. By the way, he almost certainly knows that this is a Revered Heavy Flamer, because there's very few Deep Strike cards that you would willingly actually play in Space Marines, since most of them are pretty bad, so it's probably just a Red Hay Flamer. If I was allying myself with Astroman Arm, it would be more interesting, there'd be more decisions, but Holy Chapel doesn't work on Tau units. That's Astroman Arm. So if I was allying myself with a Tau, then it might be something else, but no, I'm allying myself with Astroman Arm, so there's only one like good card, it's just this one. He passes, I pass. So where am I going? I'm pretty sure I'm just having to go to Barless. And then that's it. Go to Barless. I mean, I could go to Planum, but there's actually a pretty good chance of me actually just straight up losing the Battle of Planum. His Graviturgon's probably going to go to Wheeler if I could go there and try to kill some of the Termagants, but then I'm... yeah, it's very, very awkward. I think either one's the same. I'd rather try to knock cards out of his hand. No, he's going to draw... If his Warlord goes here and Graviturgon goes here, then he's going to draw a brilliant card. I should probably be going to Relief here, but then if his Graviturgon goes somewhere else, that could be much worse for me. I think I go to Barnes anyway, just because Blade of Antwer will give one faith to the Tenacious Novice squad, where that doesn't really make that much difference anyway, because if it gave it to a Rogue Trader, then Castellan Crowe can use his ability to pay X faith to do X damage. The pay X faith to do X damage doesn't really matter here, since chances are I'm going to be attacking for 4 into Protective Horrors. Well, let's see. I think I go to Barless. Yeah, this Warlord goes to Aatrox Prime, so that's a little bad. It is what it is. Get my 2 faith. He gets an extra card. And I draw 2 extra inspirational fervors, so that's not good in the slightest. And I can't really do anything about it right now, I just have to pretend that I might have a drop pod. I do have drop pod amounts of money. Deep strike my unit. Let's see what he does. Attacks. So here I can either block with a faith, in which case it's going to be wasting 1 faith, or I can block with a shield or just pass. Passing is perfectly fine here. Don't think there's any reason not to pass. Certainly none that I can see. And no, I actually decided to use Inspiration Fervor as a shield, but he's able to use No Mercy. So now I'm like, well, do I want to use this Psychic Ward to prevent No Mercy? Because No Mercy is just a 0 cost event, but there's not much that Psychic Ward can really do here, as I don't think he's going to play any of the other scary cards. And even if he plays Overrun, I don't want to Psychic Ward it because Overrun draws you 2 cards. So I do decide to play Psychic Ward, and we'll just see what he does. And he uses this ability on Psychic Ward to prevent Psychic Ward. So he exhausts his Warlord and places a Faith on my Warlord. So now he does get to use No Mercy. And he has Sweep, but Sweep doesn't do anything. So this isn't like the worst Psychic Ward in the world. So I attack for 4 into that. So now I'm using Castellan. He's a 2 shield card in order to block the damage. Now I'm using Castellan Crowe to do, what is it? Just 1 damage? Am I going to do 1 damage? Yeah, I'm doing 1 damage with Castellan Crowe. I could use more, but Protective Hovers just aren't a very good unit, and I think I actually want to save some faith in order to try to attack his Warlord here. He actually did end up shielding that one as well, so that's fine. Good Flamer. I am going to waste an extra faith here, but it's okay. Since he's going to attack me with subject W-808 for 2, then I'll attack for 4. Unless I retreat. And I don't retreat because here I'm thinking I really need to find some way of dealing with, some way of winning this game. Because he's going to be killing, well, not sorry, not that. He's going to be winning just all the command struggles for basically the rest of the game. So even if I draw 2 command units there, he is in an incredibly dominant position. And most of his overrun is going to really mess me up here. So let's just see what he does. He attacks for 1. Attacks with the protective hovers instead of W-8. Probably just trying to knock the Tenacious Novice squad down. So I could use Inspirational Fervor here. It's hard because I really don't want to reveal what the cards in my hand are. If I reveal that I've just got Inspirational Fervors, then he can. Because right now he's probably thinking things like maybe I have a combat unit that's going to enter play next round. So I think I need to hang on to these, even though this is a decent time to use a shield card. I need to try to bluff him a bit. So I'm going to use the Faith of the Shield. It was interesting to consider retreating there, in which case the Tenacious squad would live by using the Faith. And then when it commits to another planet next time, I'll get 1 faith from it, as well as 1 faith whenever he uses a shield card. But I don't see him using shield cards too much here. He's used 2 of them already, and I think he's just going to have so many shield cards, it doesn't matter too much. The faith is good, but I don't. As you can see here, he's got a lot of very spammable units, so I could pay a ton of faith in order to use Castellan Crowe to kill a unit. But it's just not a very good trade. Generally here, actually, that's just I keep waffling on here, but the point is that I'm losing. So his faith is a shield. So here I'm going to try to actually kill the wall a bit. I didn't attack it before because I wanted to actually make him use some shield cards and get some value out of Castellan Crowe. And I think that was the right choice. Aatrox fires against me, of course. Here we have a very simple battle. Nothing much is going on. No point in him retreating the Adachi Strain Broodlord since it's going to be removed from the game anyway. I can Inspirational Fervor, but it doesn't do anything, so it's not the point. And I discard a Bowing Trigon of Ballast. So that's quite interesting. So Bowing Trigon, you reduce the cost of the unit. You reduce the cost to deploy this unit by X, where X is the highest number of term control tokens you control as a single planet. So right now it's being reduced by 2. It's a 10 cost 3 command 7 attack, 7 heavy unit. So evidently he wants to put a bunch of termagants into play earlier with, and then he's going to play a Bowing Trigon, but I have knocked out of his hand, so he probably doesn't have another, but he could draw one. He's going to be drawing a ton of cards throughout the game. Okay, I've drawn some units. So I guess I could have used Inspirational Fervor and yeah, anyways, a shield card, but oh well. These are both pretty good units to use Inspirational Fervor on, though, it should be said. Both are 3 cost units, so that's quite good. I can put both of them Barless, then Inspirational Fervor, and move to Planum. I don't know if I am going to do that, though. I feel like maybe with the first Purgatory, we want to put it into play Eliwith in order to try to cut down on the number of termagants, so that if we do that, we can always just use first Purgator in order to move this one over. If we are going to put both of these here, then it's probably going to be Zealous Canon's first Purgator to Barless, and then commit the ward to Original in order to win 1 resource. The 1 resource is an issue here, since we're going to be 1 resource short of playing Inspirational Fervor without winning one of these planets. And he's already seen me discard 1 Inspirational Fervor, so he's probably going to be trying to starve me of resources a bit. We don't really know yet, but for now he's got some reactions he needs to do at start of the deploy phase. Now W-808 does Keening Maliceptor. Right, I forgot he's W-808. So Keening Maliceptor is going to let him use Iridio in order to heal his Warlord. So in the end I should have just used the Tenacious Novice Score to go after the Protective Horrors, or treated it. Granted, it's not that bad for using the Keening Maliceptor now, because that means that he won't have it for later on. But if it was later on, I mean there's some terribly nasty things, like Farron, he could just decide to rout one of my guys. That's like it's an overrun. A whole overrun. So it's not the worst thing possible outcome. And Warlord assassinations are just pretty hard anyway. So it's not even if I'm just threatening to assassinate the ward, if that makes him have to put the Keening Maliceptor out to heal his ward, that's fine. That's still a good outcome for me, I think. And he also plays Metallic Convoy, so whenever I play a unit, I'm going to infest a planet there, and he'll gain a termagant. So I have basically no options here. I think I'm just playing a first Purgator or Zealous Countess to Barless. I mean, let's see what I do. I don't remember. Now I'm playing Fierce Purgator to Eliwith, so I think what I'm going to do here is play Zealous Countess to Barless, Castellan Crowe to Planum, and then if we win the battle with Barless, then I'll get to use Planum in order to move the Zealous Countess over. I think it's fine. I don't know how good it is. Maybe I'm hoping he plays a Toxic Renfolk to Eliwith, and then I'll send my Warlord there. That could also work. Actually, I think, I think the reason I'm actually putting this here is because I'm going to play a Zealous Countess to Barless, and then I'm going to send more to Planum in order to get maximum the Blade of Envoy value. I really shouldn't be maximizing Blade of Envoy value, it's just not that good. But, oh well, what can you do? Sometimes you get a bit distracted by the shiny purple Demon sword. It's not a weapon. It is very shiny though. Okay, he's played a Toxic Venom Folk to Planum, when he could have played it to Reliwith in order to beat my first Purgator at that planet. So why did he do that? Probably he's expecting my Warlord to go to Reliwith, and Graviturgon's going to also go to... He wants to send Graviturgon to Reliwith, but he thinks that Castellan Crowe is going to go to Reliwith. In which case I'll win the command struggle there anyway, so there's no point putting a Toxic Venom Folk there. He may as well put the Toxic Venom Folk elsewhere so that he can continue getting cards and resources from its ability. So now I think I really do want to go to Planum in order to just get the steal even more from him. Yep. I've got this Zealous Kansas. What am I going to do with it? Barlas, not too surprising. I think I kind of have to send Barlas. It's not going to do anything if I don't. Okay, he's got another Emergent Cultist, so I still can't use my Holy Chapel. That's a shame. I actually did want to use it this round. Oh well. I can't do anything now, so I'll just pass. There's an adaptative Thorax Swarm, which gives this Emergent Cultist +1 attack and +1 health for each planet he controls, or has captured rather. So this is attacking for 4. If I send my Wild Hare, it's going to put 1 faith on that, so it's still going to die to the Emergent Cultist. Yeah, can't really do anything about it. And even if I do something about it, he might just play Overrun, in which case it's going to get routed anyway. But on the other hand, I have the initiative, so if I attack 3, he'll have 1 health left. I can spend 2 faith from these 2. Maybe that'll be enough in order to kill it. I don't know if he has a 2 shield card. He might send his Warlord there, but that's okay for me if he sends his Warlord there. Because then he's not sending it to like Eliwith or Ferrin in order to get more value. Because Ferrin wouldn't be a bad option here, Ferrin to go out with first Purgator. And actually he reveals a much better card than just a committing unit. He has Planetary Devastation. This is a signature attachment. And what does it do? It has 4 lines of text. Limited, attached to a planet. Attached to Eliwith. Attached planet loses text box, type, and its bonuses are set to 0. So Eliwith is now worth no cards. And it has an action of return this attachment to your hand to put a token into player's hand. So that is extremely bad for me because I've just gone from potentially winning 2 cards from Eliwith to winning nothing from Eliwith. And yeah, this is like Archon's Palace. He could even, if he wanted to, do some nuance with putting it on a green planet and then I can't Inspirational Fervor, although he doesn't really need to do that, so it's not surprising he didn't. He's just going to deny me 2 cards. It also explains why I sent the Toxic Chronophobia over to Planum, because, well, he's going to blank Eliwith anyway. So that's disgusting. Can't get the cards, can't get any resources. For now I have to try to figure out what I'm going to do to actually against salvage. Just also lets him stack up more Termagants on the planet if he wants to do that. And if he doesn't have another limited card in his hand, he can actually use it as a deploy stall by taking the Planetary Devastation back, then playing it again as his limited card for a round. So it's an insane card, but it is his free shield here, so only 1 copy of it, so you never know if you're going to draw it, but he has drawn it. So now it's my problem, and I have to try to figure out what to do. Which is probably lose at this point, as I am really struggling, but maybe I can get a big break somehow. Maybe I can kill some of his units. Because I only need 1 good battle or 1 good drop pod to turn this around. But I won't be able to afford drop pod this round. He passes. Where am I going? I think I'm just going to Planum. It is the most economically damaging planet. And it's kind of it. I might be able to get some value out of the Emergent Cultist, or out of killing the Emergent Cultist. Yeah. I just don't have many options here. Maybe he goes to Ferrin, but we'll see. And since his Gravity have gone to Eliwith anyway, so I didn't really need to play with Planetary Devastation since neither was won the command struggle there. Although it did mean that I was never going to send my Warlord there because I would both not get the 2 cards and I would not get the battle ability to draw a card. He did send his Warlord to Barlas, so that makes sense. He's just going to try to win it, even though he doesn't need it for winning the game. So it's maybe a bit sloppy of him. He's going to pick up the Zealous Cantus, but it's giving me time to try to get back into the game. He's not going to put me any further into the ground. Maybe he actually just doesn't have any shield cards in his hand, although I do think it's unlikely. However, if he doesn't have any shield cards in his hand, then he's probably got another Burrowing Trigon in his hand. So as he's going to have 5 term against Eliwith, it's going to be reduced by 5. That's a big number. A 5 cost elite. That's like a standard price elite. And actually, you can also use Planetary Devastation to generate another Termagant in order to get another discount. So this would be more like a 4 cost elite. I'll use my blade. No reason not to. Toxic Venomthrope. Get some stuff. I think it was a card. It's usually a card. I've drawn an Eager Recruit. That's very nice here. Unfortunately, it's not going to make that much difference, as I'm still dying in 1 hit to the Emergent Cultist here. Can't do much about that, but oh well. He swings. What does he do? He resolves, and it hits the Eager Recruit. Well, dang it. Maybe I should have played it, but I really wanted to hope that it was going to hit the Inspirational Fervors. And I didn't want to reveal it, because even if I send it at Planum, I think at Planum I'm just going to be seeing if I can kill his Emergent Cultist without spending any cards or anything. It's worth noting here that what is it? Castellan Crowe, when he's bloodied, he still keeps his ability to have each unit you control considered to have faith. So I don't need to worry about my Tenacious Novice Squad suddenly being pretty bad. But he does lose the reaction and gains a new action, which allows him to do more damage once per game by paying a single faith. So moving on to Planum Battle. Swing. So, coming to the end of the combat round, he does not retreat his Emergent Cultist because it would die. And he actually decides to use his Keening Maliceptor here. Perhaps before he forgets. And interestingly, he heals the Emergent Cultist. So he's actually not at all concerned about his Warlord being killed at all. And he's instead just going to try to make me use a shield card or something. Try to win the battle at Planum. So I keep attacking. I'm alive here, and Spade around where he gives me +1 health. And he actually retreats his Venomthrope here. So does that mean that he doesn't have a 2 shield card? Or is he trying to bluff me and bloody my Warlord? As if he does. Let's find out. I decide to swing. And he does die, so that's a big pickup for me. I might actually be getting back into this. I'm going to win the Battle Planum, and then the rest of it's quite a bit harder. But I think I'm going to move the first Purgatory over to Planum. Let me see. I'll move the Infestation at least, that's good. Let's move it over to Planum, since if I win Planum, then I can just move it with Planum or with Inspirational Fervor. And next round. What does subject W? What does Bob? What does he do? Mr. Bob, what's he doing? He's put a Praetorian Shadow into play, so this is very strange. But once you think about it, it's not that strange because you think he would send it to Eliwith, but Eliwith, because it's got Planetary Devastation, excuse me, it's not worth any cards. And therefore he doesn't really want to send it there because it's not going to get any meaningful value out of the command icon, unless he takes Planetary Devastation back into his hand. Meanwhile, it looks like he's going to send his Warlord over to Iridio in order to get the healing. That makes some sense because even if I win Planum and Eliwith, I'm not going to win the game. And if he wins Eliwith, which there's a pretty good chance he does with this many Termagants at 1 planet, then he just has to win Iridio. Does that make sense? So this is going to set up for Eliwith Iridio victory. For me, I've drawn my Hjorvath Coldstorm, but his ability only activates when opponent discards the cards from my hand, and Balas has just left play, so Fortunately, he's a single card too late to actually get value out of him. Or get good value out of him, rather. Would have been really nice to have him, but oh well. He plays a Protective Horrors for 0 cost, since he has Suggestion Recall. And it looks like he's going to send Gravitagon over to Relief, because that's what he'd probably do with that. Maybe. I assume he's going to remove a Planetary Devastation then, since Planetary Devastation doesn't do anything. It can just... You don't want Planetary Devastation to plant where you're winning a command struggle. Play Hjorvarth as a command unit. It's not a great command unit, but it's a command unit. He took an action to take a Planetary Devastation back, so he's probably going to put it somewhere else. Let's be honest, he's probably going to put it at Taurus. Play Brother Justicar, because I can play Inspirational Fervor in order to, well, Inspirational Fervor him. Yeah, Planetary Devastation at Taurus. So I was wanting to send my Warlord there, but the issue was that, yeah, he's probably going to use Planetary Devastation anyway. He's probably going to move it over there so I couldn't use the ability. But now I get to go somewhere else. I probably didn't need to put the Hjorvarth Coalstorm, but I could have put it at Ferrin maybe. Ferrin, maybe Eliwith if I'm feeling a bit bold. Or I don't know how much it does at Eliwith. So I think it's interesting to put it at Eliwith because actually I could put it at Planum, and then I can Planum one guy and then 2 Inspirational Fervors. So 1 Inspirational Fervor to move the Hjorvarth and the Fierce Purgator. Although actually here I can always just Planum to move the Hjorvarth Coalstorm and then Inspirational Fervor Planum, so it doesn't really matter, so I'm actually just overthinking this. I probably should have put it on Fair into Contested Command instead of putting it here when I strongly suspect he's going to put Planetary Devastation there, but well. He's playing a Spore Burst, so that's a little funny. Not every day you see one of them, but lets him get the Emergent Cultist back. 2 cost, 3 attack, 3 health. Still a good unit. Doesn't get to exhaust my support, fortunately. It's at least a little fair. But still pretty good. I guess he has a lack of units in his hand then if he's willing to use Spore Burst as a Emergent Cultist spawn instead of buying another unit. And he passes. Moving on. Where am I going? Am I going to Eliwith? I feel like with this much force on Eliwith now, I don't actually want to go to Eliwith. Maybe I go to Iridio and try to beat him there with Inspirational Fervors and maybe. Let's see, what do I do? Okay, I do go to Iridio. Yeah. Yeah, I should have put the Hjorvarth on Ferrin. That would have at least gained me 1 faith with Blade of Underwear. Oh well. Yeah, it's fine. Sometimes you make these mistakes. I've drawn my Humanity Shield, which can be either a 2 shield icon card, so that's quite good here. Would have been nice to draw a drop card, but yeah, I haven't drawn them yet. Maybe I will soon. Hopefully. Battle. Let's see. Is he going to play 2 overruns? Probably not. So seems like a bit of a waste. Inspirational Fervor. Here we go. I'm getting value. And I'm going to fight him at a video. So I'm beginning to turn this back around. As I'm going to kill a lot of his units here, like a giant number. Although he might have 2 overruns in his hand, in which case it's great to lose. But let's see. Hjorvarth is also coming over, so I have a very good chance of killing his warlord here. And if I don't kill his warlord, I have at least a very good chance of just forcing his warlord to retreat, in which case Hjorvarth Coalstorm will gain the 3 attack and 3 health. Will be back to 3 attack and 3 health, since he's 3 attack by 3 health by default, but gets -2 attack and -2 health while there's an enemy warlord there. Okay, interesting battle time. Let's see what he does. Is he going to retreat? Yes. That's fantastic. That's amazing for me. I can pretty handily slaughter all of his units here. At least most of them. I'm not sure about all of them actually, but let's see how many I can pick up. So I can use Castellan Crowe for this is one of the rare cases where Castellan Crowe's ability is actually really good because I don't want to ever get attacked here, hopefully, and I can use the faith to actually just kill his units instead of waiting for them to attack me. That's fantastic. I only paid one faith because I want to try to bait him into using as many shield cards as possible. Even though I could pay an extra faith, I want him to actually use shield. Hmm. I should have just paid two faith. I don't know what I was thinking actually. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and looking at it just before this, did I think he was going to attack me with? I don't know. Maybe I'm still afraid of Overrun. Maybe Hjorvath is going to attack something. I don't know. Oh well, bit silly of me. So first Purgator gets to do 1 damage to Protective Horrors, Meaningless Sword, Potato and Shadow, and can deal 1 to something of this planet as well, although he's already got 8 Termagants there. If I kill, so he's on 9 Termagants, he's almost at the cap, so I don't think there's a point in me killing the Termagants, even though it would increase the bow and Trigon costs. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, so since I didn't spend that faith, a Toxic Manaphobe's going to get to live. So that was, yeah, a bit silly of me. That's going to be like maybe, it's going to be a couple cards. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Ah, well. I guess you use the radio here for a full heal, which is very good. And we're moving fast. I could have used another inspirational further there, but I don't think I'm going to win a battle Elioth considering just how many Termagants he has. I haven't drawn any of my tactical squad cardnesses yet, so can't really deal with them too effectively. And there's 2 tactical squad cardnesses. So I should have just sent my inspiration further my units over to Elioth, but I had no idea what I was going to draw. Bob. W-808, Bob, same thing. Bob's doing Synapse placement. He gets a Blazing Zone Flip. That's going to deal 1 damage to my Rogue Trader and kill it. Or it's going to do 1 damage to your Valve and kill it. Or kill it at some point. That's interesting. I get to play Humanity Shield, which I can use it in play as a unit with 2 shield, as a card of 2 shield icons, sorry. And I can also use it to, when my opponent wins a command struggle, I place a faith now. So I'm very good at generating faith now because of this 1 card. I was really struggling before, but now I'm going to be swimming in faith. Granted, if he has Clock of Corpses, he's probably been saving them with 4 of his support. So let's see what he does. And here comes Bow and Trigon. There's Bow and Trigon. So that 1 cost is 0 because he used the digestion. Now I have to try to figure out what to do. I wonder if I should play my tactical squads, but I think I'm going to have to hold on to them in order to throw them at him at... If I win the battle at Erasure, then he's going to have to go all the way to Taurus in order to win the game. So then tactical squads are maximally good. But probably going to get overrun anyway. So I think I think I just have to pass here. Plays a second Bone and Triangle. Seems overkill. Committing, I send my war to Welioth in order to just steal the stuff there. Rest of it doesn't do anything. And I make a small mistake here. I should have put a faith on my Rogue Trader in order to prevent it from being killed by the Zone Throat. But I've put it on Hjorvath and Brother Joscar, so it was a bit dumb of me. Yeah, killed the Rogue Trader. Should have just put a faith in it. Oh well, we make these mistakes sometimes. It's been a very long game at this point. I think we've been playing for about an hour at this point. There has been a lot of deliberating about what the best moves are in each of our situations, especially because for games like this where it starts out pretty lopsided, but then one person starts to actually get back into it, we tend to actually not like pause, but we both look and go, who is actually winning here? And we spend like 20 minutes just going, what are the threats? What are the how am I going to win the game? How is he going to win the game? What's the threat of a warlord assassination? Is he waiting for a particular card which is going to score him a win? Probably overrun. Which cards are even worth playing at this point? Is the third inspirational fervor even any good here? I would say yes, but who knows? I can cheat, so I guess I'll do. Draws a card, we don't know what it was. He gets to use Farron. What's he going to route? Just going to route first, perked, or sounds annoying. That's probably the unit that I wanted to contest Taurus with, but I have the Emperor's Retribution, so not too bad anyway. Next round, W-808 does a thing. He puts a Vanguarding Horror into play. Now you might be thinking, why? He hasn't shown a single Deep Strike card. Or maybe he does have Deep Strike cards. I think more likely than that, he just doesn't have any cards that he can play. Also, any useful cards. Because Aberrant Alpha doesn't do anything here since Iridio and Taurus aren't infested. And trying to think of what other cards he could play. I mean, Stalking Nectar doesn't do anything. They've just got a lot of synapses which don't do anything available to him. He could maybe use Saboteur Prime, but I imagine he's just going to be sending his wall to Theranos to trigger a battle ability. Because here he probably wants to play around Exterminatus, because he doesn't want to lose all of those units to just a single Exterminatus. And he's taking action. He's playing the Shadow in the Warp. So I could nullify that, but and I do, and then what does he, did he use his wand? He did use his wand, okay. So what does the Shadow in the Warp do? It is limited, and until the end of the round, gain 1 resource each time you play an event, and your opponent must pay 1 resource each time they play an event. So now this Emperor's Retribution costs 2, this Primal Herald costs 1, and this Inspirational Fervor costs 2. So that is unbelievably annoying here. This is the first time I've seen the Shadow in the Warp actually do anything meaningful. As usually you just play it and it does nothing, since your opponent can just wait around. But because I have all these cards which want my units to go to, which want to send my unit to Taurus, it's going to massively limit the number of them that I can actually use. And in fact, I'm probably going to use none of them. Okay, send a Zealous Kansas to Iridio. I think that's completely. Oh right, he wins at Iridio. Okay, I actually do have to put my guys at Iridio. That was silly of me. Yeah, I have to do this. Okay, he's going for Iridio. Crush of Sky Status isn't like the biggest threat in the world, but it does 1 damage to target enemy as a player in the world. So it could do 1 damage to your Cold Storm each combat round, and if it was there, then it's going to actually kill the Kjorvalf, so I'd really rather it didn't do that. And also, since he has this Vanguarding Horror, I don't know if he's going to have a bunch of Deep Strike cards, so he could potentially put it to Iridio. So I'm going to play probably both tactical squads, because if he routes one, I'm going to need a second one. You might just route both of them, but I have to rely on a bit of luck here. Okay, and he's played another Immersion Cultist. Now my Holy Chapel is out of the way again. It's got a Striking Ravener 2, so that's going to kill one of my units. Okay, this has gone from bad to really bad. Could deploy a card into reserve, I mean... Or deploy a Red Heavy Flamer. I should, just to... I deployed it normally. Why did I do that? Excuse me. Not sure. I think I'm trying to bait overrun out of him, but there's no way that's ever going to work, so. whatever, it happens. Sometimes why did I not do that? It maybe bizarre. Emperor's Retribution, so I think I initially, yeah, I do not play Emperor's Retribution here. And he does not go to Redu, he sends all his guys to Taos. So that's that. If I have Exterminatus, I can blow all of those up, in which case I should win. We've seen all of his Chigons, so he'd literally be out of them. It's kind of it for now, even if, then it's very, very hard. No. Granted, he probably has enough stuff in his hand where he can out-fund me anyway. Get a bunch of Humanity Shield stringers, that's fun. He wins the Command Trigger at House, but actually his Planetary Devastation has prevented his card and resource here, so missed out was a small mistake by him. Should have taken that back. Oh well. It's been a very long game at this point. Imagine this recording's also been quite long. Moving on to the battle. Crush of Sky Slash has 1. Wow. 2, 4, 5. He does not shield it, but he does have fallback, so that's good for him. He probably has more fallbacks then, since that might be why he's not particularly scared of Exterminatus there. He's going to fall back with Burrowing Trigons even if they do die, or get blown up by Exterminatus. What happened here? Why did I set my resources? Set one resource. Right, here he played fullback, and he got a resource back from Shadow and Warp, but I was missing a when an event is played trigger on that card here, so he didn't actually get the resource when we played it. It's fixed now, so in this replay it was working fine. But it's fine, it's not a problem. It's basically the same thing. Hjorvalf took damage, so he's on death's door. He's going to die when he gets to Terrace, but we have Iridial, so I can heal him. I play Inspirational Fervor, and then he reminds me that the Shadow in the Warp has increased the cost, but then we're not just a bit like, well, what does that actually mean? Because it says your opponent must pay 1 resource each time they play an event. So on Iridial, I've coded this as after you play an event, you lose a resource. But I'm not sure if your opponent must pay 1 resource each time you play an event. Is that considered an additional cost? In which case, I can't play Inspirational Fervor. So after some deliberation, decided it's probably intended to be an additional cost since it is pay 1 resource instead of lose 1 resource, and it is a must. So that's the thought process here. So I end up cancelling it, and I'll add it back to my hand in a moment. I have to use a radial first though. Turn card, set my resources back to 1. Move over to Terrace. He just wins now. Because if I use the battle ability of blanked. Funny. Do I draw Exterminatus? No. Okay. I only have 1 copy of Exterminatus in this deck anyway, so it's not particularly likely if I was going to draw it. God, okay. So, how do I get out of this? I'm definitely going to have to send my Order Phone here just to prevent any routing shenanigans, even though it gives him even more time to set up. I've got this open. What's he doing? He's using W-808 to do something. What's he going to do? He's declining W-808, which makes sense since there's literally nothing you can do with it. The Deep Strike guy didn't even do anything here. It's just a threat of Deep Strike. Now try to decide if I don't even play any of these cards. None of them do anything, so I don't play any of them. I could have played Prognosticator maybe, but I may as well just wait until the next round. Yeah. Emperor's Retribution doesn't do anything. Yeah. Rough. Is that clogged? Okay, so now the Holy Chapel, after being exhausted by 3 Merging cultists, has finally been clocked. Oh well. He's played a range of Mighty Explorers, which will let him infest the last planet. That's literally all that it does. So, do anything aside from that. He's decided to take his planetary devastation back into hand. And that's it. That's all that happened. Again, I guess I was going to say he was playing around Exterminus, but I already passed, so he didn't need to. What's going to happen here? I have to go to Fair, and I don't really have a choice here. I have to route one of his Whirling Trigons, then we'll go from there, see what happens. Oh, one faith you be. Tag 2. And he's got no mercy. So he kills one of tactical squads. Oh well. What could I have done? I could have played the Prognosticator, in which case I could have then put a faith on it and it would have lived. Oh well. And also he gained a resource from playing No Mercy as well, so that's fun. His units die, I used. What do I route? Bowling Trigon. Towers obviously can't use it. They're subject to W-808. Literally cannot place the synapse, so he just wasted a resource for no reason. I don't think I actually gave it back to him here. It's fine because he's got so much money anyway. And now he plays a turn against Spikers. That gives all his guys ranged. So while I do have a Sacred Rose, a Heavy Flame Retributor, Prognosticators, all that stuff. In fact, let me just advance a bit faster here. I have all this stuff, but he has ranged. And he also played 2 Spore Bursts for funny. Put 2 Merging Codes back in, Shedding Hiveman. It doesn't really matter because he's just going to hit me with ranged on all of my area effect units, and then I will die. So that's just I've drawn a drop pod assault finally. Yes. I only took a couple dozen cards. Alright, let's keep going. So I could commentate over this, but we can see the writing on the wall. He's going to use all his things to kill my area effect units very slowly. And now we've got past that. He's killed most of my units. What's left? He's got I got to attack with one of my units, but now he's just got a bunch of units left that can still attack. Well, that's a lot of dudes. And he wins. Interestingly, still didn't win my icons. He won by capturing last planet. So, pretty good game. I was very close actually at the end there. It's just, oh, Termagant Spikers, it's gonna scupper me. I don't have any way of ranged or any unit removal of any kind here. So yeah, there's nothing I can do to stop that. And funny Burrowing Triangle as well is quite funny. It's not often you see it, but it's cool when it happens. Okay, then what else was there? Anything interesting? Now the inspirational furthers. I mean, we did see they were really clogging up my hand early on there. Three of them on round 1. I think it was round 1. But I still really like inspirational fervor. I think it's a very good, very strong card. You get to move a lot of your, you get to move your Sacred Rose emulators for more Sacred Rose damage, or other really good things like that. Even just moving Brotherhood Justicars is quite good. You have big numbers on them. And also Shadow and Warp actually did something. It's like the rare case where it does. It granted what does it do there? Stop me from playing something, I'm sure. It made him more money. That's what actually did. So That was probably the most interesting thing they did. He did say at the end of the game here that he did have an overrun in his hand, so even if I did win the whatever it was, even if he didn't have a ranged guy, he'd be able to rout a tactical squad or at least kill it with Termagant Spiker, not Termagant, just a Burrowing Trigon. So if previously I'd put a faith on the other tactical squad, in which case then I'd have to have three faith, I'd have two tactical squads and Sacred Rose, so then at least one of them would have to be allowed to fire. That'd probably be enough to at least make a dent in his army. I think it would be very difficult for me to actually beat the Burrowing Trigons though, as I don't have my Indomitable and Drop Pod just doesn't do much here because it's just going to be as a 2 shield card. I could have gambled on Drop Pod. There's how many Brother Juskars are in here? Only one, so my chances of hitting Brother Juskar are pretty high. That's probably something I could have considered. That would have helped me against Termagant Spiker's ranged attacks a bit. But even then, that's maybe saving 4 damage. 4 damage on the relevant units, the ones which aren't exhausted. And by the time we get to the second card round, he's just got too much stuff. Yeah. Okay, that'll be it for me then. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.